Hello and welcome to the Bears and Lions podcast. This is the podcast where we challenge our present by viewing our past. I'm a firm believer that our greatest future lies within the correct view of our past, because when you actually look at it, there are probably some things that hurt really bad in the moment. In fact, they were probably devastating and probably blurry as well. But as time went on, they became clearer and clearer and started making sense. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in today's conversation, because sometimes just nothing makes sense in life. But I do believe that it's our opportunity to make it make sense and our responsibility to make it make sense. I do something at the end of this conversation as well that I haven't done before, but I am asking you to share this podcast and tag me in it on social media. It doesn't matter which social media, just share it and tag me, please. It's going to do two things. One, it's going to mean the absolute world to me. But two, it's going to help me develop and know exactly how this conversation works into the podcast. If you want me to have more of these conversations in the future, especially as we're getting closer to episode 100, I want to make sure that we're always developing and growing. Now, this was a deep conversation. I enjoyed it. It was hard, but I really, really hope that it encourages you and challenges you today. So let's get into it, and I'll see you on the other side. I want to talk to you today about life and how nothing makes sense. Or at least it feels that way. If you are like me, then there are moments every single week, maybe even every single day, where you're like, this doesn't make sense to me. Make it make sense. Right? I scroll through social media and I see terrible comments. And I'm just, it doesn't make sense on why so many people are so arrogant. So many people are so ignorant. And so many people are confused about truth, or they're frustrated about things. They're so rude to each other, and it just doesn't make sense to me. And if you're like me, sometimes you'll find yourself wondering, do I actually understand much about it? Because as I get older, the less and less life makes sense to me, at least in some aspects. See, for me, the reason why I wanted to have this conversation is because I've been through so many different moments in life where it was so difficult in the moment, right? It was death. You would have thought I was dying. Woe is me. That's all I could say. It was terrible. You'll never understand the feeling that I have when my older brother took my toy and I just cried uncontrollably. You'll never understand the pain that I had when my older brother ate the last Oreo. You'll never understand the frustration or the pain I had when my first girlfriend broke up with me after a month. All of these things were terrible in the moment. But I laugh now. What are we doing here? Make it make sense. Why is this such a big deal? He ate an Oreo. He had the last Capri Sun. But I can remember I cried. It hurt. How dare you betray me like that? You see, if you are like me, then you've probably had these moments in life where during the experience, it's terrible. Life is over. We're never going to make it. But as time went on, some things changed, and whatever that horrible moment that was fuzzy kind of became clearer and clearer, and all of a sudden it began to make perfect sense. Oh, I was being immature. That was immature of me, or that was difficult, or that was dumb. That was silly of me. I'm such a goofball. Right? It's almost like we put a new camera lens, right? If you're old enough to remember, there used to be really bad cameras, wind cameras, which would have a roll of film that you actually had to take that roll of film out to get developed. And you would take it to like a Walmart or a Walgreens. I remember on Walgreens, it used to have on the outside of the Walgreens, 1 hour photo pickup. That was a part of their sign. It's like a big deal. You'd get these photos developed, and then they'd give you a little packet. You'd have to come back and pick them up. And then you'd have pictures, and they were usually blurry pictures. right? They weren't clear like what we see nowadays. Our phones take better pictures than a lot of those pictures. But you had some people who had like really nice cameras, right? A 38 millimeter. They had a nice lens on it. They can get some pretty clear pictures. See, I think sometimes we experience things through a lens that is meant to be for far, not meant to be for close-ups. So during the moment, everything is blurry. Everything doesn't make sense. It's all out of focus. But as we get farther and farther and farther away, it becomes clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer. And as I've grown up older, I've been thinking about this a lot more and more lately, is that sometimes we need that little bit of space so that we can rack focus on the camera and we can see it through a different lens or through a different focus so that we can understand what actually took place. That's the whole point of this podcast, right? We challenge our present by viewing our past correctly. You can't just view your past and say, yeah, it was bad. What was so bad about it? My brother had the last Oreo. That's not telling the story. That's just telling a story. And sometimes that's what we do to ourselves. See, I've learned you cannot change the past, but you can change the focus. Like a lens in a camera. If you change the focus, you begin to see things clearer at different distances. Time doesn't heal all wounds. Time is just the cast that sets what's broken in place to allow our body to heal. And some of us need that time. Some of us need some of us need a full body cast. I swear, we've broken everything in our body and we need a walker. We need a leg cast. We need an arm cast. You need one of those things that's drilled into your head where it's holding your arm up at all times because we are broken. But as time goes by, our body goes through the healing process. We go through the healing process, and it's important that we allow it to heal and allow us to be able to see it correctly. Because if you have a surgery, and it's just a gaping wound that needs to be healed, but the bandage is there to cover up what your body is healing. Your body will heal that wound, and all that will be left is a scar. But if we start taking the bandage off to try to look at it again, we're just going to be picking at the wound, and it's going to become infected and cause more issues. But if we just leave the bandage on, allow some time to pass, and look at what the body did, well, we'll be left with a scar. But that scar will be a reminder that we're good. We're healed. We're okay. See, I've been noticing and asking myself some of these questions as I've gone through life, and I've gone through these moments, and I laugh and chuckle a little bit about some of the things I was immature about when I was younger. But I realized nothing ever makes sense in our lives. Whenever we're in the moment, it doesn't make sense, right? It just doesn't. Even when we're young, right? Nothing makes sense. From birth, nothing makes sense, right? We question everything. Why do I need to make my bed? Why do I need to do my homework? Why do I need to brush my teeth? Why? It's always the question. Even as we grow older, we still question everything. Why are taxes so high? Why do I feel the way that I feel? Why am I still holding on to the things that hurt me that I know I shouldn't be holding on to? Until we've accepted the painful reality that nobody is coming to save us, right? The choice, it's in our hands. It's our responsibility to choose. Only then do we start to realize that nothing makes sense until we choose to make sense of it. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you want to connect with me further, you can find me on my social media. I'm most active on X, which is formerly known as Twitter, @Kyle Vaught. That's Kylev as in Victor, ATT. But I'm also trying to become a little bit more active on Instagram and Threads, which is at Kyle_Vaught. So shoot me a follow, shoot me a message, say hi, or maybe there's a topic that you want me to discuss on a future podcast episode. Either way, I cannot wait to get connected. Now let's get back to the conversation. I've been through so many different things, especially over the last few years. I would say over the last decade of my life has been adventure after adventure after adventure after adventure. And you say, Kyle, that sounds super exciting. Yes, but I have chosen and done things and questioned everything along the way. Why am I still single? Why did I go back to school at 27? Why didn't I just go to school when I was 20? Why didn't I just go back to school when I was 23? Why didn't I do that? Why did I move to Louisiana? Why did I move to Baltimore? Why? I still question these things. Like I'm a 5-year-old. Why? It still is in my brain because we're wired to question these things. But I've done all these things because I have made it a point to choose. And as I grow older, I'm so glad that I had parents that instilled in me a work ethic and a choice where I made choices. And yes, I can whine and complain. Why did this happen to me? Or I can look at it and say, I know exactly why that happened to me. I chose it. I know exactly what happened. I know exactly what took place. And the more I've been self-aware of my choices, the more I've activated the ability to stand by my choices. So now I make a choice. It's like the car. I made the best choice I could make by buying a new car so that I didn't have to deal with car trouble. Guess what happened? Car trouble. It was still one-off. Why? Make it make sense. But it does make sense. I made the very best choice I could, and I stand by that. And sometimes it happens, and I just need a little bit of space to refocus and say, I know this will make sense. It's fine. So even though nothing makes sense, it doesn't make sense that my car had problems. It's my choice. I'm going to make sense of it. I'm going to make it make sense. It's okay. Everything is okay. And I'm going to move forward. I think so many people are debilitated. I used to be this way where I'd be debilitated of making a decision where I would say, oh, but what if this happens? Or I don't know. It's scary out there. I remember when I was moving to South Georgia, I was 18 and my dad was like, okay, go for it. I told my parents I was moving to South Georgia, moving out of the house at 18 years old. I told him, I'm moving in 2 weeks. My dad was like, okay. My mom was brokenhearted. But I remember in that process, I was like, I'm going to go and I'm going to do this. And it's going to be scary and it's going to be wild and it's going to be intense. And then everything that I was like, this could happen, happened. Almost everything. Car trouble, living arrangements, all sorts of adventures, paying bills, learning how to be an adult. All of it. And even though all of that took place, I remember thinking, wow, I thought it made sense to me at the time. And it does, because all of that experience actually got me into my 20s and it helped me in the next pursuits that I did, where I took all of the things that I learned, even though it was really hard in the moment. And there were days when I was 18, 19 years old, alone in my apartment, smoking a cigarette and drinking a beer, thinking my life is worthless. I don't even know what I'm doing. This is pointless. All my friends hate me. That's not true. My family hates me. That wasn't true. I was just lying to myself. Nothing makes sense. But now I look back on it and I'm like, no, it made total sense. Is if I hadn't gone through that darker moment, I wouldn't be so appreciative of the light. Not only that, if I hadn't gone through that desert period in my life, I would not even begin to understand how far I could go. See, I had reached my limits. Then I realized, wow, I can go really far. And then the next time I moved out, when I moved to Louisiana, I realized I'm going to be fine. I made it through that, and that was a desert. And if I can make it through that, I'm going to be okay here. Yeah, I don't put things off like I used to. And I'm not worried about the fears of what could happen or what couldn't happen. So I'm making sense of everything. Oh, it doesn't make sense. Why did this happen? I'm not even worried about why it happened. Why did it happen? I don't know. Because life is weird. I'm going to make it make sense. Why did my car break down? I don't know. But I'm going to make it make sense. It's going to be okay in the end. See, if you are willing to step into your future and step into that moment and say, I'm going to make it make sense, I can guarantee you a few things. One, I can guarantee you that you're going to make a lot of sense to yourself and you're going to make things make sense. But the other thing I can guarantee you is that other people are going to be encouraged by you because it's not all about you. But I can tell you, if you're not going to do that, you're in for some trouble. And there's going to be things that won't make sense. And you'll wake up and you'll think about why they don't make sense for a long time. Possibly even years. I've known people who have done this. I myself have done it for a few years, even after I'd gone through things. It was dark. But I had to get back to the point where I made it make sense and I made the choice myself. I'm going to move forward. See, if you're waiting for life to make sense, you're going to be waiting a long time. A long time. I like the way the Bible puts it. The Bible, it says, farmers who wait for perfect weather never plant. If they watch every cloud, they never harvest. See, there will always be storms in life. And you can either fear them or you can use the storms to water the dreams that are inside of you, the passions that are there, so that when the time is right, when everything has grown, rain or shine, you're going to reap the benefits. I have seen time and time and time again throughout my 35 years of life where things I thought were the end of me, where I thought I'm dead, I'm done, this is it, became the life of me. It's almost as if a seed that falls from a dying tree falls to the ground, and you see the dying tree and you say, it's dead. Let's cut it down and burn it. So you cut it down, you make a big bonfire and you burn it. But that seed that fell falls into the soil. The soil is rich and it begins to grow. And before long, you see, oh, hey, look, a little tree's growing. There's life. For a lack of a better term, it's honestly the circle of life. But it's just how things have gone in my life where I'm just realizing we don't need to worry so much. Because you know what? Nothing makes sense at all until we make sense of it all. So go and make it make sense. Go and make it make sense. If you're going through a breakup, make it make sense. Hey, what did I do wrong? Not what did they do wrong? What did I do wrong? If you lost a job, make it make sense. Don't complain and say, oh, why did I lose my job? Make it make sense. Okay, what are the things I could have done to keep my job? What are the things that I could do to become a better employee where the next job I have, I won't lose that job? Maybe you failed a test in school. Oh, my life is over. I failed a test. All right, make it make sense. Why did I fail that test? Did I really study as much as I could have? Did I study the right things? Did I pay attention in class? Did I take the right notes? There's a vast amount of resource out there to help you with whatever you're going through. Did you Google what you need? Whatever you're struggling with, make it make sense. I can promise you, at the end of the day, it's not going to fix all your problems. Your problems are still going to be there. But if you make sense of it, it's going to give you the responsibility or the encouragement that you need, right? It'll give you the ability to be proactive and say, you know what? This is on me. This area is on me. You don't have to take responsibility for everything, but you can make sense of it by taking some responsibility of it, of what you can control, and then control that and tell me how it works out. That's going to do it for this conversation. I really appreciate all of you who listen. If you would, I would really appreciate the kind of feedback. I haven't really asked for this before, but if you've made it this far in the episode, I'd appreciate it if you shared this on social media and tagged me. If you share it on X, tag me at Kyle Vatt. That's Kylev as in Victor ATT. And then that's VATT, by the way. Sometimes I say that and I wonder if people think my last name's Victor. But I also would like you to share this podcast on your Instagram or Facebook or wherever. If you do, tag me on Instagram. I'm Kyle_Vatt. If you share it on any platform, tag me, let me know, because these are the conversations that I think are very important. And then also it gives me a little bit of feedback so I know these are the type of conversations that are really impactful, especially if you've made it this far. Hopefully everybody has an incredible rest of your week. I cannot wait. There's a lot going on. I've also just finished up Proverbs in the Bible, and there are so many things, whether you believe in God or not, that doesn't even matter, because there are Proverbs that just universally matter. And so the next probably few episodes, we're going to be going over a couple of really incredible Proverbs that I think are very beneficial. But I hope you have an incredible week. Remember to give grace, show love, and as always, stay stellar. Peace.